All right. Welcome back to Happy Hour with Heather and Guest. I believe this is This is episode number 45. Uh, Always good to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
Why am I? It's not like you're the guest. I'm the guest. Or actually, I guess Black Lung is the guest for today, but
Yeah.
I'm that other dude.
Yes.
Either way, it's nice to be back. Today, it is your turn on the ones and twos.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about a group called Black Lung, as well as Grave Next Door and Clay Soldiers. So why don't we kick things off with Black Lung? Any background you want to give before we jump in?
No, I'll talk about it along the way.
All right. Okay. So Black Lung have a few albums. I think there were four that
Yeah.
the first one, I think, is it just called My Mind is Lost, or is it Mind is Lost?
Well, the first one is self-titled, Black Lung.
Okay, so I'm completely wrong on both.
The
Okay,
song is called Mind is Lost.
right. Yeah, that's where I'm gonna fire whoever has been in charge of taking dictation from me. But that's me. So, all right. So Black Lung, self-titled. First track is called Mind is Lost.
Yeah, and they're out of Baltimore, Maryland. The album cover is really cool. It's like it's kind of like a Rorschach test. And what do you see? It's a smoke horse. I like this bluesy psychedelic rock. This is their debut album from 2014, very guitar driven. As soon as the guitar comes in, the tone is amazing. And at the end of the song, it's just such incredible playing.
Yeah. Well, since you mentioned Rorschach test, and since I'm studying to become a mental health counselor, I had to take an assessments class in which I learned that you need to be really trained to use a Rorschach test instrument in a session with someone. Like, you need all sorts of training. You need to be proficient in the manual. You need to have, I think they have level A, B, and C. A is like anyone can use it. C means you need like a doctorate level plus other things. So this is specifically for those of you out there who are like, I'd like to learn some facts other than hearing stuff about music. So
Is this something you're going to use in your practice?
probably not. I will not get all the requirements out of the way, probably. Although you never say never. I mean, maybe I
Yeah.
will. But anyway, going to the song, Mind is Lost. I also said nice bluesy stoner riff. And I wrote, let's take this for a walk. It kind of reminded me a little bit of a scene in the film Anchorman, where Will Ferrell is convinced to play jazz flute. And I believe he says something like, let's take this for a walk as he begins to play. And so the riff, I felt like perhaps one of the musicians was like, let's take this for a walk and just sort of see where it goes. But it was a cool way to kick off the track, or the album, I should say, Mind is Lost, which then brings us to Preacher.
Yeah. I like how the song builds. I really like the singing. There's a lot of emotion in it. There's an effect on the vocals. It made it more difficult to determine what he's saying, but I like the sound. It sounds pretty cool. The song progressively gets faster and faster, and the furious playing at the end with the drumming it's quite spectacular.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring up two movie references for one thing, so be prepared. I liked how this was sort of in a minor key, like very dissonant, and it reminded me of a scene in This Is Spinal Tap, when Nigel is at the piano and he's talking about D minor being a very nice, melancholy key, and he just played this really sad sounding song, and the director said, "What's the name of the song?" And he goes, "Lick My Love Pump." So just simply because it was a dissonant minor key, that's the first thing I thought of. And then I thought of a line in "It's All Gone Pete Tong," in which the lead character talks about the new album. He says, "We're bending sound, we're forging it." This sort of felt like they were bending the sound and forging it as they were cobbling the song together. And then it goes into like a cool garage rock like stoner sound. So it's been interesting. Again, this is another band that it's sort of hard to pinpoint. Like you're not going to be able to pigeonhole them in a specific description. Um, but yeah, and it sounds a little bit like the vocals are coming through like a megaphone type thing. I'm sure there's a more technical term for it, and it's probably an effect that you have, and people are probably rolling their eyes listening to this, saying, "Dude, it's so easy." But I'm going to say megaphone. So, yeah, Mind is Lost and Preacher off the self-titled first album. Great way to kick things off. And that's followed up by See the Enemy. And I picked the track Behemoth because I thought it was a cool name, and I've written a short story titled Behemoth, and that seemed like the universe suggesting, why not go with this one?
Yeah. The album cover art is dissolving into smoke. I like the theme that they have going and the black and white aesthetic. The song is very bluesy. I like that. It's like is heavy blues, heavy blues a genre. That's what it reminds me of, like hard heavy blues. This is another song that builds an intensity. There's no bass, just guitars. And I noticed on their Bandcamp page that they list a harmonium as an instrument, and I was really intrigued by that. I looked it up, and it's a very interesting instrument, and I don't know if I've ever seen that listed before. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. Um, for Behemoth, I wrote side head nod to the extreme, like Vanilla Ice, because his debut album was called To the Extreme, and that's how my mind works. When I think of phrases, it reminds me of certain things. So I did have a side head nod going. I also wrote this was my favorite track so far. Very much of a bluesy stoner feel with some psychedelic feeling and some progressive elements. But I wouldn't categorize it as any of those things by themselves. It's sort of the combination. So, but yeah, this was my favorite one. We've only listened to three so far, but of the three. And then after that was Nerve.
Yeah, and this song has more doom in it. The low tone is incredible. The song is really incredible. I like it a lot. There's some pretty cool effects on the guitars, and the song goes, "Not taking my time when I'm looking for love. I'll help you find what you're looking for." Then there's this awesome guitar riff, and the drums sound incredible. This rhythmic pattern. It sounds great with the guitars.
Yeah, this one once the tone came in for this one, I thought of Milton Berle. I was like, I heard Milton Berle say, "Oh, you think you've got some tone? Check out this tone." And then I wrote down the lyric. I think he says at some point, "I hope you find what you're looking for," and that that had a profound impact on me for some reason. I felt the need to write that down. But yeah, this song was all about tone and Milton Berle. And if you've seen our previous episodes, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, okay, so that's the first two albums, Black Lung and See the Enemy, and that was followed by Ancients. And the first
Yeah.
track was also titled Ancients.
Yeah, and I own this record. I have the Acrid Haze edition. So I mean it. I really mean it when I say how much I like it. I can back that up. I have the physical evidence. I saw the album art on this was by a photographer, Ruby Gold, who I looked up, and there's she has this amazing black and white photography. So that's the artist that was used for the cover art on this. This is a great blues infused stoner metal song with great powerful vocals. They're just really, I think they're just hitting on all cylinders here.
Definitely. I also want to point out that this is probably the only program in which anyone will credit the album art photographer. So you won't find that anywhere else, folks. You probably also won't hear some idiot talk about Milton Berle and Vanilla Ice and It's All Gone Pete Tong and so this is Spinal Tap, but that's besides the point. Um, so Ancients, all I wrote was more side head nod, and this was the most melodic. I feel like so far they've done an excellent job with um, sort of bluesy stoner, but this one had the most sort of straightforward melody to it. And then after that, we have Badlands.
Yeah, and I saw that the album title is a reference to the ancient powers of the natural world, and this song has lyrics that reference that too. Um, Sun goes down, coyotes howl, bow our heads to the arms of the world, lightning chasing, bison grazing. This is not our domain, melting castles, serpents rattle, Badlands sing a song to the dead. I think this is my favorite. This is my favorite Black Lung song, and the song that made me like them so much. I love the way it's structured. To me, this one really stands out.
Yeah, once I heard this one, I made it my favorite. Even though I suggested that Behemoth was my favorite, I made the caveat that's my favorite so far. But once I heard Badlands, I was like, this slow juggernaut is my favorite, and it reminded me of a line from the Book of Revelations. Behold the pale horse, and the man that rode on him was death, and hell followed with him. And I felt like this would be the song playing during the Book of Revelations. Like as death was approaching and the apocalypse is happening, this is the song. Even the title Badlands suggests something sinister, uh, when thinking about it. But yeah, I mean, really, just a great jam. I mean, if I were going to put one song forward and say, "Here's Black Lung," I would probably say Badlands be that song. And then the last album is Dark Waves, which is the only album cover I believe that doesn't use the black and white theme. So please take it away.
Yeah, and the cog, it, that this album is different. The first clue is the album art, and it's not just black and white, it has color in it. The second is this album has bass. Previous albums didn't have any bass, it just had the guitars. There's also a different guitarist. The production is cleaner, the vocals are clearer, not so many effects. It still has the wonderful blues and heavy psych feel to it, and those elements and incredible guitar melodies. This is why I love going through an entire discography, because just to see the evolution, um, and they roll with the tribulations of the times.
Yeah, with the cog, as you had mentioned, this one has a cleaner tone and more of a jazzier sound. Not to say it sounds like jazz, but just as compared to the previous records, it is a little bit different. just as good. I enjoyed it just as much, but you can tell that they're evolving a little bit. And then Death Grip was the next track off of Dark Waves.
Yeah, and the vocalist Shauna Potter from the band War on Women is featured. And this song is about the funeral industry and profiting from grief and loss. I love the fuzz and the tone of the guitar. Both vocalists are just phenomenal. I hope they do more stuff together because it was really, the two of them together are really great. They sound great. I have to say, I really like the incorporation of the bass. The song has a dark and haunting quality to it, more of a doomy feel. I said previously the song Badlands was my favorite, but I think this one, I think this one is my favorite.
Gotcha. It's funny how I like once you'll hear what I say, you can tell that you and I are on the same wavelength. Um, I said it was the doomiest of the songs based on the riff alone. It's my favorite riff. I still think Badlands is probably the song I would take as a whole, but if it was just the riff alone, then Death Grip takes the cake. Um, Side head nod, definitely. And the accompanying vocals were both epic and operatic. I really liked how it was a nice sort of counterbalance. Um, and the title of the song, Death Grip. So I when I was in intensive care with the aneurysm, my mother would take some cell phone videos of me doing like the first, this is the first time you're feeding yourself and all this stuff. I have no memory of any of this, but at one point I saw a video of some nurses asking me questions while they were helping me walk around the room. And I guess I was holding on to one of their hands so tight. And she said, "Would you mind loosening up your death grip a little bit?" And I said, "Sure." And the other nurse said something about like, "Well, how do you know it?" I don't remember the context except for the fact that I said a hand turning blue constitutes a death grip.
Yeah.
And I said that. I have no memory of saying that. But anyway, back to the music. Death Grip, the doomiest of the songs, based on the riff, my favorite. I definitely in the top three of the songs. If I were going to make a greatest hits, it would probably be Behemoth, Badlands, and Death Grip. If I had to make like an EP of 3 tracks. But yeah, an excellent suggestion, Black Lung.
Yeah.
This is from Baltimore, which is nearby me. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there we go. But yeah, definitely check out Black Lung. Go check out the playlist Heather's cobbled together, and then do a deep dive on their oeuvre. I just wanted to say the word oeuvre. And then next up, we've got 2 more bands to discuss, either Grave Next Door or Clay Soldiers.
Yeah. Let's go with Grave Next Door.
Okay, Grave Next Door. What do you got?
All right. Sanctified Heathen came out this year. Grave Next Door is from Michigan. I wanted to talk about Grave Next Door because they're going to be performing in our live stream Guestival in October. They have done a few live streams in Happy Hour with Heather and Guest, and the videos are archived. So if you want to watch them, they're pretty phenomenal. You can search for them on our website, and that's happyhourwithheatherandguest.wordpress.com. There's a search, and search for Grave Next Door and look up their live streams. Or in our Facebook group, we have a Happy Hour with Heather and Guest Facebook group, or on our YouTube channel. So lots of places where you can see them. It's been fun keeping up with Grave Next Door's progress. They're one of the hardest working bands that I know. I mean, they document everything on social media. They're constantly practicing, constantly playing shows, always working on new music, very active on social media. I believe this record will be coming out on vinyl soon, but right now I know there's CDs currently for sale on their Bandcamp page, so you can definitely pick up a CD from them.
Yeah, Grave Next. I mean, I was trying to think back. Grave Next Door is a band who's been involved that I've been involved with their scene and running in the same circles for at least 4 years now. Um, and the band they're from Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is coincidentally where my sister-in-law is from. So I love the fact that there's the Michigan connection, and I like that the band is named for the cemetery that was next door to the Salerno brothers. I think growing up, the two members of the band, Patrick and Anthony, the guitarist and the drummer, are sort of the lifeblood of the group. Um, and Sanctified Heathen being their first album. Um, so obviously they have a very special place within the Happy Hour with Heather and Guest realm because they've been featured in so many of the things we've done. And I've actually used the before Sanctified Heathen had lyrics when it was just instrumental. That's the song that I used to open my old podcast, A Fistful of Faithful. Um, and Patrick has always been great about reading books that I've published and promoted. You know, he's talked about them on social media, so it's been a really nice collaborative effort with them. And they're also going to be playing the Gestival, which I'm excited about. Um, they credit themselves on Bandcamp as a fuse of Black Sabbath with the Melvins by way of Moody Blues for a unique approach to heavy rock, which I definitely agree with. If you're into doom, then you're going to love Grave Next Door. Um, I mean, Sanctified Heathen is one of my favorites for personal reasons. But for example, if you listen to Heavy as Texas, it has an Electric Funeral type feel by Black Sabbath. So if you're into those bands, then Grave Next Door is a band that's taking the torch into the 21st century. So be
Yeah.
sure to check them out. And then Clay Soldiers. So we're hopping from Grand Rapids, Michigan to the UK. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure where Clay Soldiers is located. I apologize for that. I should have. But they have an album out called Life After Death.
Yeah, and they're going to also be performing in our festival in October. That's why I wanted to talk about them. You know, we don't have times yet, but they're in the UK, so they'll be in the earlier time slot. We've talked about their music before, but I figured it can't hurt to talk about them again. So let's talk about them again. They released an EP in July called Life After Death. They say it's about closing a chaotic and dark chapter and opening a new door to embrace the light. I feel like a lot of people can relate to this. The music it's a mix of alternative, grunge, and stoner rock. I think my favorite song on the EP is Drive It Home. It definitely satisfied my grunge nostalgia. You know, some of my favorite bands, some of my favorites come from the 90s and that grunge era. And this really satisfied that. I saw on their Bandcamp page they have 2 CDs left. 2. So grab one and help them sell out. That would just be awesome. So 2 left. 2. Grab them up. Grab them up.
Yeah, and for those of you who aren't as familiar, one of the things they said on their Bandcamp page is they love to mix the melodic with the heavy, combining the deep, energetic melodies of grunge and the heavy grooves of stoner rock. And after I'd listened to them and then I read that, I was like, that makes more sense than anything I've ever heard. Because as I was listening to this album, I was like, oh yeah, I could have been in high school when this album came out, and it would have played in between um, Core and Razorblade Suitcase. This was like a perfect blending of the best things I like about grunge and the best things I like about stoner rock. So again, if you're looking for a contemporary band to take the torch and run with it, um, Clay Soldiers. So be sure to check them out. Check out the playlist that Heather's cobbled together, as I had said before, and then tune in on October 22nd for the Guestable. As Heather had mentioned, we don't have times, but the day is earmarked. We've got a bunch of great bands: Grave Next Door, Clay Soldiers, Death and Gloria, Building Upon the Revelation, and Afghan. I wanted to say Afghan Wigs, Afghan Haze. So there you go. Dynamite bands from across the world. They're going to be delivering some great jams, and you'll be able to watch it live on the 22nd of October. So,
Yeah.
in the meantime, in the interim, buy those two CDs from Clay Soldiers, help them sell out. Check out the music from Grave Next Door, and do a deep dive on Black Lung's catalog. And I think that's going to do it for episode number 45. I can't believe it's episode 45.
I know. I
So,
know.
but
Yeah.
but yeah, we will of course be back next week with
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 your
more
picks.
with my picks, insight. You can imagine that there will be a lot of pop culture references and some great facts about the music. So we will continue to deliver.
Yes.
But Heather, as always, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And have a good rest of the day, and we will see you next week.
Yes. Bye. Yeah. And their album Hell of the Plains, which makes sense because I think they're in Oklahoma. It starts off kind of thrashy. They describe themselves as doom, horror, punk, and metal. I thought the second song, Stitched and Confused, was definitely more punk. And with the song Leather Apron and lyrics like, I like the way you bleed, it definitely has a horror vibe to it. Velvet Darkness was my favorite song on the album. It's more on the metal side, and I really like the vocal delivery on that. I like how the style is different than the other songs, and that shows me the range that they have, and the way that they can take this music in different directions. Also, anything that Steve is involved in, is going to be high quality. It's going to be great, and I wish him and this band, I wish him the best.
Yeah. So Steve, who also goes by Reaper, you can probably see him on social media. He's got a show. But he's just joined. He's the new drummer for Drop Dead Dammit. He's not on this album, but he'll be playing on the upcoming album. Um, so yeah, they're from Lawton, Oklahoma, and what I liked is the combination of all the music that influences their music or that they use is all of my favorites. It's like punk, metal, grunge, and then the bands that they say for fans of were like also right in my wheelhouse. So what's really cool about all of their songs is you can sort of see that it's a combination of all those elements. Like if you were imagining an old stereo system where you've got the equalizer and the bass and the treble, and you have them set at like different frequencies. Each of these songs is like a combination of a different, like I'm going to raise the grunge on this one and lower the doom a little bit and raise the thrash. So it's really like a recipe of all the stuff that you're going to enjoy. I don't think there was a single song that I fast forwarded. to like, yeah, let me get to my favorite. It was like, oh yeah, let me check this out. Oh, cool, this one has more of a grunge feel. Or like you mentioned, the lead track had more of a thrash feel because of the way the drums were played. So if you're a fan of any of those genres, any of the, you know, the great bands of the last 25 years coming out of the grunge scene or the punk scene or the metal scene, then Drop Dead Damn It's going to have something for you. So, and I'm looking forward to, you know, again, I'm looking forward to their new album coming out, which will be awesome. And then hopefully Charlie No Face will have a new record as well. And Earthride has a pretty vast catalog, I think. Plus, I'll be interested to check out some of the other bands from that scene, the DMV. So, so yeah, so that's it.
Well,
But
thank you, Andrew.
oh, it's my yeah, it's thank you. This is this is always my favorite. So looking forward to next episode 45, and then next month there are a couple of we've got Heather's birthday, which will be awesome, and then we've got the first ever happy hour with Heather and Guestival on the 22nd
Yes.
with a couple great bands live streaming. We've got Clay Soldiers, Death and Gloria, Building Upon the Revelation, Grave Next Door, and who am I missing? There are five.
You,
Did I say? Did I say
I think
five?
you, I think you did. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. If I left anyone out, I apologize, but I think I got there are five bands. It's still to be announced in terms of the times, but that's the day, and it'll be awesome. So,
Yeah.
in the meantime, listen to the music that was on the show today, and thanks again, Heather. It's always a pleasure,
Thank you.
and have a good one out there.